So hello everyone again. This is the first lecture on semiconductor electronics, materials, devices and simple circuits. Let's begin a new chapter today. This may be the last second chapter of your physics class 12 syllabus. So let's begin the discussion directly. So I am Samir Lavankar. Let's begin the discussion. Okay. So let's not go into the details of the course outline right now. Let's first start the semiconductor devices. Let us first understand what are these devices, what are being used, what is the basic application, how are we using it, etc. We will go line by line with each of these concepts which we will need to understand. Let's first of all start with introduction only. Okay. So let's start the discussion for today. So introduction to your semiconductor electronics. Okay. So let me just first iterate everything and then I will keep on make you understand why we need to understand semiconductors, what was the history of semiconductor electronics, what was used before semiconductor electronics is being dealt in the introduction of this chapter. Okay. So devices in which a controlled flow of electrons can be obtained are the basic building blocks of all electronic circuits. Okay. As the name suggests, electronic circuits. So any, like, let us go with the very real life basic examples of what are electronic circuits. Let us say your AC is composed of an electronic circuit. Let us say your computer is based upon a very high wiring of electronic circuits, or we can say much more in a clearer sense, your CPU consists of an electronic circuit. Okay. Then let us say this what we can say, this monitor also has a electronic circuit. Everything, let's say your geyser also has an electronic circuit. Everything composes of electronic circuit. Now what composes inside? Let us say we talk about CPU. We know a substance called as a motherboard. A motherboard, if you have seen a motherboard very correctly, it consists of very small chips intacted, let us say in like this, then things are connected to it. Let's say there is a long transistor attached here. A lot of things are inside in this complete board, and hence this is called as a motherboard. Let's not go into motherboard specifications, but I just need to make you understand that all these small things are nothing but your semiconductor devices. This chapter is completely based upon understanding the concepts of semiconductor devices, how they work, what are the integrated circuits, what are ICs, what are gates, etc. So devices in which a controlled flow of electrons can be obtained are the basic building blocks of all the electronic circuits. So basically these are the devices which we need to understand in this complete chapter. So before the discovery of transistor, what is a transistor I will make you understand in subsequent slides. For now you can just understand it as an tool, or let's say a building block used in electronic circuits. So before the discovery of transistor in 1948, such devices were mostly vacuum tubes. On your right hand side you can see one of the pictorial diagram of what is a vacuum tube. The size of these vacuum tubes are also very high. Let us say this is the size of the vacuum tube and this is the size of the chip which is made. Nowadays with the increase in technology, the sizes of chips are approximately in mm also, or let us say less than mm also. Okay. So before the discovery of transistor in 1948, such devices were mostly vacuum tubes, also called as valves. So these are nothing but your vacuum tubes or valves. Vacuum tubes or valves, like the vacuum diode which has two electrodes, namely the anode, often called as plate, and the cathode. So basically now the vacuum tubes, this point just tells you about the vacuum tubes. So now there were 2-3 types of vacuum tubes depending upon the number of electrodes. So first example is regarding your 2 electrodes in which there was an anode, there was a cathode. Another was a triode. What does a triode mean? It has 3 electrodes. What were the 3 electrodes? One was cathode, one was plate and one was grid. And then there, as the name suggests, it's diode, as the name suggests, di as in 2, tri as in 3, then there was a tetrode as in there were 4 electrodes, and pentode as the name suggests, it has 5 electrodes respectively with 4 and 5 electrodes. On the right hand side you can see one of the pictorial diagram of a diode, I guess. So this is one of the diagram, scientific diagram of your vacuum tube, in which you can see a plate, that is anode, and a cathode. So as you can see, this outer covering is nothing but the plate, and this inner covering, or let us say this thing, is nothing but your, what we can say, cathode. You can also see grids forming here. So this can be explained as an example of a triode. because you can see a plate also here, you can see a cathode also here, you can see a grid also here. So these are the concepts, or these are the one of the specifications of a vacuum tube. What is a vacuum tube? What vacuum tube can be considered as a device which are building blocks of all the electronic circuits. So in previous electronic circuits, for making the passage of current, vacuum tubes were being used. Okay. So in a vacuum tube, the electrons are supplied by a heated cathode. So what is the basic engineering behind this? So basically, as you can see, this small cylinder inside is being heated up. Let us say I heat it up like this. So it is when the temperature of this cathode increases. The electrons are supplied by a heated cathode, and the controlled flow of these electrons in vacuum is obtained by varying the voltage between its two electrodes. So simple mechanism, you just try to heat it. Heating it leads to the movement of electrons, and because of these electrons we just make sure that the controlled flow of electrons is happening. If the controlled flow of electrons is happening, that means the current is being passed from, let's say, point A to point B. Okay. Why is the vacuum being used? I guess the information regarding that is also been explained in some of the subsequent points. Let's not go into that discussion for now. Let us first understand only. So till now what we understood, that this is a vacuum. As the name suggests, vacuum, as in there is no air present. Then there are let's say this is plate, this is cathode, this is anode. What is the engineering behind this? The temperature of this cathode gets increased so that there is a electron flow, and this electron flow is obtained by varying the voltage between its different electrodes. Okay. So this is the thing which we understood till now. Let's move on. So vacuum is required in the inter-electrode space. What does it mean by inter-electrode space? This is the electrode space which is being talked about. This is your inter-electrode space. Otherwise, the moving electrons will lose their energy on collision with the air molecules in their path. So yes, I was telling you about what was the reason behind use of vacuum tubes inside a, means what is the use of, why doesn't we make these tubes as, let's say, air tubes? Why we install, or why we adopted the concept of vacuum into it? Because let us say if the air particles are born here, then what would happen is that these electrons will collide with this electrons, and there will be no controlled flow of electrons. If there will be no controlled flow of electrons, then the electric circuit may have some leakages, the efficiency might reduce, etc. might happen. That's why. Okay. So this was the basic concept of why we are using the vacuum tubes. Next was why vacuum was necessary and what were the different types of electrodes. Till now we understood these all concepts. Okay. So this point has also been explained. So basically what happened is that why is vacuum required? Otherwise the moving electrons may lose their energy on collision with the air molecules. As there are no air molecules residing inside the vacuum tube, hence the flow is controlled. Next line is, in these devices the electrons can flow only from cathode to the anode. So this is one of the what we can say drawbacks of using a vacuum tube, that the direction of flow of current is always in one direction. We will understand in subsequent slides, we will understand the complete chapter that in the subsequent inventions or discoveries, the current can be even reversed also. How is it reversed? What are the applications of it will be understood in subsequent classes. But now, for now, what we understood is that the previous discussion, that is the previous invention of vacuum tubes, the current flow was only in one direction. Okay. So in these devices, the electrons can flow only from the cathode to the anode, that is only in one direction. Therefore, such devices are referred to as valves. Okay. As the name suggests, you may have heard of valves in the concepts of pipes also. So you may have heard, let us say this is a pipe, or let us say I make it much more, okay, I will make it like this only. So let us say this is one of the pipe. Okay. We always know that pipe are, let us say we use this pipe for the transport of water. We always know that majorly the pipes are installed, or majorly the pipes are built in such a way that the passage of water is being done using gravity only. We try to use, or we try to reduce the usage of motor as far as we can. Let us say this is one of the valve in which this is, and so what is the basic concept of flow of water? The flow of water is done from a higher potential to a lower potential. So quite evident, if we are doing the passage of water from, let us say, a higher potential to a lower potential, let us say this is at a higher potential, this is at a lower potential, and let us say quite evident, as this is higher potential, this is lower potential, this is the passage of water. This is the passage of water flow in pipes. Okay. So let us say this is the passage of water. Now we are trying to stop the flow of water. What are the equipments which are available in our day to day life for passage to stop the passage of water? Those devices are nothing but called as valves. So basically there is, let's say, a clip being installed here. We have a lever here, so we try to open it or close it depending upon usage, and hence this can be used for flowing or stopping or regulating. Let's say, let's work with the scientific terms. We are trying to regulate the amount of flow of water from point A to point B. है ना, we are not trying to increase or decrease. Increase or decrease is a layman language. We are trying, let us use a scientific language. So we are trying to regulate the water, because it is not that the water can be only 0 and 100%. It can be, let's say, we try to reduce the valve in such a way that only 50% of water is flowing. So in such sense, we are just trying to regulate the amount of water from higher potential to lower potential. So quite evident that this valve can only be used if there is passage of water in one direction. If it would have been in opposite direction, this valve would not be used. I am not going to specifications of why it won't be used, but this is one of the real life examples in which valves are used, and valves are only used majorly when the passage is in one direction. If it would have been reversed, then the regulation by valve is not possible. Hence, so this can also be one of the way in which we can understand why these things are called as valves. Okay, so this is one of the concepts. So I just try to make you understand why the concept of valve came into picture. Okay, so this thing is also explained. Next line is, these vacuum tubes devices are bulky. As you can see also that these are very much bulky. In the subsequent classes, I will make you understand what are basically the sizes of chips. So when you see the size of chip and when you will see the sizes of this vacuum tubes, you will see that there is a large increase, even the order of magnitudes of these vacuum tube size. Okay, so these vacuum tubes devices are bulky, consume high power, operate generally at high voltages. So high voltages are required. You will see in subsequent slides for your small chips that amount of electron volt, the voltages required are in terms of electron volts. Very minimum amount of voltages are required for some of the semiconductor devices to work. For now, we can just understand that the voltages relatively are very higher for your vacuum tubes. Okay, so these vacuum tube devices are bulky, consume high power, operate generally at high voltages, and have limited life and reliability. So for this slide, we can just finally make one of the conclusion is that what was the major conclusion we need to make, that devices have limited life. What does it mean by limited life? That it has a very less years of expiry. Okay, one is limited life, and second point is that low reliability. As the name suggests, low reliability, as in it is not reliable to do our day to day work. So let us say for using, let us we try to install a vacuum tube in one of the expensive devices. Let us say it does not work after, let us say 1 month, then the use of this is completely diminished. It is the device is also destroyed and the thing is also complete. So basically we cannot reuse it. So that is why we need to implement more scientific technologies. We need to upgrade ourselves so that we can try to find out something which can be used in day to day uses, and also it has a higher life expectancy, or let us say higher life and higher reliability. So then came the concepts which we will study in the subsequent classes, subsequent slides. For now, the conclusion of this slide is just that we need to understand that vacuum tubes have limited life and low reliability. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so as you can see, these are the typical diagrams of the semiconductor devices which we use in day to day lives. For now, in recent technologies we use these all things. So these are ICs are basically integrated circuits. The last lecture concept which we will study in this complete chapter are regarding integrated circuits only. Okay, so these are transistors, you can see these are the resistors you may have heard in current electricity chapter also. So those are also types of semiconductor devices only. Then capacitors also you may have heard in the chapter of electrical charges and potential, and diodes. So we will understand the concept of diodes in this chapter, we will understand the concept of ICs in this chapter. We may also consider the concepts of transistors in this chapter. Okay, so we will go very slowly regarding all these concepts, because these are because a little bit more science is required if we try to understand it much more clearly. I will try to go very slow when I will try to make you understand these concepts. First let us complete the introduction part only, and then we can move further. Okay, So till now in the previous slide we understood the concept of vacuum tubes. Let's move on and let us see what happens after that era. Okay. So the seed of the development of modern solid state semiconductor electronics, as the name suggests, solid state, as in we are trying to make things which are solid in nature. Okay, let us try to break each and every word so that we can understand much more clearly what we are trying to understand in the subsequent points. Okay. So the seed of the development of modern solid state semiconductor electronics goes back to 1930s. So first of all, let us see that the transistor was being made in 1948, and the discovery, the theory of discoveries were dated back to 1930s. So you can see that even if the development of semiconductor electronics started in 1930, approximately 18 years later transistor was being made. You can see this is very high time, very last time for research to be done. So we try to understand this whole concept in, let's say, 5 or 6 lectures, but the amount of time it required to consolidate, the amount of time it required to be made to make you things in a paper, it was very less as compared to the research time it took. Okay, let's get back. So the seed of the development of modern solid state semiconductor electronics goes back to 1930s, when it was realized that some solid state semiconductors and their junctions offer the possibility of controlling the number and the direction of flow of charge carriers through them. So just trying to explain this line much more clearly, what it is trying to say you is that we are just trying to implement new technologies, we are trying to upgrade our semiconductor devices such that we can find such devices which can control the number of electrons going from point A to point B, and also control the direction of flow of these electrons from, let's say, point A to point B or point B to point A. Only this thing has been explained here. Okay. Next line is simple excitations like light, heat or small applied voltage can change the number of mobile charges in a semiconductor. So when more research was being done, it was being found that these things let us say how can I explain to you. Okay, so let's not go into that discussion. Let us say this is one of the semiconductor devices. Okay, so what is the basic use of semiconductor devices? We need to pass the number of electrons, or we need to flow the electrons from point A to point B. Let us say this is point A, let us say this is point B. So what does the second line try to say you is, normally what happens is when an electric field is applied, this electric field tends to flow the electrons from point A to point B. This is one of the way. They are just trying to say that even if we let us say apply some amount of heat here or light here, let us say that light intensity can be used, or let us say that heat intensity can be used for the flow of electrons, or let us say some applied voltage can be understood as electric field only. So let us say this applied voltage can be used for the passage of electrons. So we were trying to do the research, so scientists were trying to do the research, and finally what they found will be explained in the subsequent slides. So this was one of the way in which how the vacuum tubes were invented. Then we will go on with further discussion and we will understand how the semiconductor devices were invented. Okay, so let me stop the discussion here only. I will start a discussion from the next point in the next class of this lecture only. So thank you for now. Let's meet in the next part of this lecture.